Good morning, friends. How are we doing today? It is Thursday and we're still in the M3, which tells you one thing: the deal did not go through. So if you guys saw the last video, we talked a little bit about how, I'd potentially found a buyer for this car. I've actually had quite a few offers on this car over the past like 2 or 3 weeks. I think just because I kind of put it out there that I was possibly interested in selling it. And I'll be honest, I'm not like the most motivated to sell it. So it really is going to take like the right deal for me to want to get rid of it, because I don't really have to get rid of it. It just has to like make sense. You know what I mean? So this deal that I had worked out with a friend of mine was basically trading for another car with cash on top. The other car, just to spill the beans and tell you guys what I was looking at, was a Z4M. So if you know anything about the Z4s and the Z4Ms, the Z4M in 2006, which was the one that I was looking at, is the E85. So that is the Roadster, which is the convertible top. The other ones, the E86s, are the coupes, which kind of have like the more of like the bubble butt. I actually love the E86s more than the E85s. So that car has the S54, which I thought would be a pretty interesting project, considering that it was the E46 M3 motor. A lot of guys are tapped into the S54 content, but it would be on a different platform like the Z4 rather than the E46 M3, because I love the E46 M3s. I drive them all the time at work. We're constantly building those cars in the shop. And they're great cars, and I feel like, if the right one came along, I would pick one up, but I'm not really like actively searching for one because I feel like there's just so many of them. And I also feel like the content for E46 M3s is just completely saturated on YouTube. Everyone has built an E46 M3. At least to me, that's what it sort of feels like. So if I got into the platform of the S54, I would like to do it in a chassis that's a little bit different. And that's kind of why I navigated towards the Z4M. I just felt like that would be a little bit more unique and interesting versus getting an E46 M3. But that didn't happen, obviously. After I was looking at the 2006, the E85, and I did a bit more research on all of those cars, I was kind of thinking like, man, I wish it was like an E86, because I really do like the coupes better than the Roadsters. I think they just look a little bit cooler. I think they look a little bit better than, I've never been really like a drop top guy myself. With that in mind, and then the deal that we had worked out for the amount that I would get for this car and the amount that he wanted for that car and the condition of that car, it just didn't really make sense, mostly because that car had 180,000 miles on the dash. So head gasket time, and at that point it's open engine surgery, so you might as well do like a light rebuild, a soft rebuild on the motor. It's just going to be a lot more work up front right off the bat than I'm really interested in getting into right now, because that car would hypothetically have to be my daily for a while, and I don't want to jump into something that I have to dump 5, 6, 10K into just to be able to daily drive it, when the M3 is perfectly suitable and this car is perfectly fine to daily drive. And overall, this is just a better car in condition wise and value wise and everything. So obviously it wouldn't be a straight up trade for that car. There was going to be cash on top with that car, but it just didn't, the deal just didn't make sense. You have to go with your gut on these sort of things, and after looking at the Z and kind of just like writing down everything that my car has and like the value of it, it just didn't make sense. And these things happen. Like, you'll get excited about a deal, you'll look into it, do a bit more research, kind of compare the two cars and see what the values are and what makes the most sense, and really how much it would take for me to complete the project that I would want to build. It just wasn't the right car at the right time. Would I build one of those? Absolutely. Probably would lean more towards like an E86 though. In terms of like what I wanted to do to it, I wanted to do more of like a GT3 style build with that car. I really wanted to do something like crazy and out of the box. Body-wise, geometry-wise, and everything. I also realized that there's really not a lot of aftermarket support for the E85 and E86. There's a little bit more for the E86, but there's hardly any for the E85. So the build would really just be like a refresh rebuild. It wouldn't even make sense to go down the road of cutting that car because there isn't much available for it. There's like a Liberty Walk kit available, but I don't really like the way it looks. In terms of Z's, I really wish that the E89 had the S54, because the E89, there are some really, really cool like GT3 style kits for the E89. Like the E89 would be like the perfect Z car in my opinion to get, but the E89 also has the N54, depending on which version you get. So that's kind of where I landed with that deal. Ultimately, it just sort of fell apart. You know, the amount of money that he wanted me to give him for that car versus what he was going to give me for my car, it just didn't make any sense. I'd be losing my ass completely, especially with the overall condition of that car and like mine. And yeah, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. So we keep the E92 M3 for now. I am open to offers, but like I said, I'm not really like motivated to sell this car because I'm just at this point where I don't feel like I have to get rid of this car right now. Part of me doesn't want to get rid of it, you know, like I feel like if I do get rid of it, I might regret it. I don't know. I'm just kind of in this weird in-between phase where like I don't really want to take on like a massive build right now, but at the same time it would be nice to get into something new. It just like has to be the right car. And I'm just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall. You guys have heard me just rambling on this channel about different cars that I want to get, and that's really just it. Honestly, this is like usually an internal process that I have, and I don't vocalize it because I just go through all of these different ideas and cars that I want, and I start to visualize different projects. I literally do this before I buy any car. I look at like 20 different cars, and I think about what I could make it into, and what would be interesting, and what I would enjoy and want to keep, and then like the value of it and all of this stuff. And it just has to like make sense, but it's difficult. It's always difficult for me to find like that right one. You know, it's part of me wants to go down the road of just finding like Copart cars and doing some stuff like that, but I don't know. You know, then you get into salvage title vehicles, and that's a whole nother thing. And yeah, like I don't really know what I want to do next. I'm not pressured to do anything, so I'm kind of just like coasting. And usually when it gets like this, if I just don't make any impulsive moves and I just sort of let the universe like bring whatever it's going to be to my doorstep, that's typically when things work out the best. That's exactly what happened with the E36 M3, and that's exactly what happened with the 1 Series. These things just sort of fell at my feet, and then they turned out to be really fun and like unique different builds. All right, we're back with our Starbucks, charged up, ready to go. As I was saying, man, the E92 is just, it's just chilling. It's in great condition, and like I don't have to get rid of it. I also love the idea of not having car payments, not having debt. Like I feel like a lot of people go out of their way to buy these cars, finance these really expensive cars like G80s, and build them on their channel, and then they just have this like ballooning debt. So yeah, anyways, that's sort of where we're at right now. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do next. I have no idea what car I'm going to buy. I have no clue at all. Or maybe I won't do anything at all. Maybe I'll just continue just working, doing my thing. And now that I am sort of diving in on other ventures in life, I don't really see YouTube as a job anymore. I've talked about this before, but you know, YouTube is just this like crazy rat race of thinking you need to pump out a ton of content, thinking your videos need to get views. It's just it's a crazy cycle, man. I've always been the happiest when making YouTube content, when it's just whatever I want to make. You know, it's never been about like what I feel like I have to make. Every time that I've gotten to the point where I feel like I have to make videos, or I have to make certain videos that perform well, I have not enjoyed it. I've always gotten to the point where it sort of just gives me anxiety, and like that's no longer fun to me, you know? So keeping it like this, where it's just when I want to do it, is always the better way for me. And it's been like that since the very beginning of the channel. Like if you ever knew me back when I was thick F30, I just made videos the way I wanted to make videos, and I made them when I wanted to make them. And that was always kind of like my MO, you know what I mean? The climate on YouTube these days is very, very different. When I was making videos, it was very much so about DIY and like helping people out and getting them the information that they needed to do certain things on their cars. Nowadays, it's very much about clickable titles and clickable thumbnails and retention time and demographics and all of these things that like you need to have in place in order to get big views, or like your channel isn't successful. And I'll be honest, I don't really want any part of that. And like even the larger creators that I talk to in this field, in the car enthusiast space that I know personally, they're all burnt out too. Like a lot of people just get to this point where they're trying to just make their channel and their content so successful because they think in their mind like they need to have this in order to continue, that I think it just stresses them out and burns them out. And I've been there many times. It's just nice to not have to like be the YouTuber anymore, you know what I mean? So, but I'll always make videos just because I like making them. That's the beautiful thing about it. Making these videos is really just sort of a mental like escape for me, and I get to just kind of vent, talk to you guys, and the people who are here to be here because of me are really the ones that I talk to. You know, there's a lot of like pass-through traffic that happens, which is dope, but at the end of the day, like I'm just talking to the people that I'm talking to. Yeah, I just want to make this video and let you guys know that the deal didn't happen. That's what I was gonna buy, a Z4M, S54 Z4M. Pretty cool car, would have been fun, might find another one. In retrospect, would rather have an E86 than an E85. Damn, he's going my direction. Son of a bitch. Didn't happen. That's normal. Sometimes deals fall through. Sometimes they don't work out. But we still got this, baby. We still got that S65, bro. Man, it is one of those things that's like, I feel like if I sold this car, might regret it. I might regret it. I don't know. There's a lot of things still on this car that are worth a ton of money. And like it came out to like, I don't know, $17,000 in parts for just from the stuff that I could recall off the top of my head. Plus the value of the car. Obviously mods don't add value to the car, but there's always the right buyer for the right car. It just depends on how many people you can reach and if you can find that person, because some people are willing to pay more for respectable mods. And I think that that's actually a pretty interesting point to bring up. Like, if you're gonna modify your car and you think that not putting like good parts on it doesn't really matter, it matters if you want to have resale value in your parts. Because I will say, anytime that I've purchased really, really nice parts, like let's say even Churi intakes or KW coils or something of that nature, I've always been able to turn them around or sell the car with them with an increased value, because most people do understand that those parts are quality parts. It's like BBS E88s, for example. I've been trying to buy a set for a year now. And if you know anything about those wheels, they're $6,000 wheels new. In most cases, they go for $6,000, $5,500 used. It's a quality name brand wheel that holds its value. That's what I mean by that. Sometimes when you are putting parts onto cars, it's important to think about the value of those parts. Like if you're just gonna go buy some like ESR wheels, they're probably not gonna hold their value. In fact, you'll probably have a pretty difficult time even selling them, unless it's like dirt cheap. So OEM or quality is usually like the way to go. I think that anytime when it comes to like selling a car, you're always better off like taking the parts off and then selling the car, because you're always going to get more for the car and the parts. That's just typically the way it goes. But there have been instances where I've left parts on the car because the buyer specifically asked for that, and they were willing to pay more for it because they were valuable parts. So twofold, I guess it just depends on, you know, what the car is, what the parts are, and what you're trying to sell. But right now, we're just gonna chill. That deal didn't go through. We're just gonna chill the E92 M3, and I am a firm believer of the right deal and the right thing will happen when it's ready to happen and when I'm ready for it to happen, I guess. What will it be? I have no idea. I have no clue. I'm not pressed to build anything, but I do, you know, after building the 1M and the 1M clone, I'm not really interested in doing just like a bolt-on type build. Like if I take a build on, I'd really want it to be something extensive and cool and like a rebuild type thing with some things that would really challenge me, you know? So that's kind of why I was leaning towards like a GT3 style thing. I don't know, something of that nature. Anyways, I'm pulling up the shop here in a couple of minutes. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out. I'm just keeping you guys in the loop with what's happening, and I'll try to do this as much as possible because I think it's cool and I think there's some value in it. And so thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.